A lot of people, when they begin to run, they often suffer from one of three things. Either one, their cardio sucks, two, their legs are giving out on them, or three, it's their mental game, right? And I've ran for many years, so I've dealt with all three of these problems, and they still deal with them to this day. So I want to provide a sort of almost like a confidence booster, but more of like a strategy to get around these problems. And it's honestly not as hard as you think it is. Once you learn how to do it and you just get into repetitions, it's really simple. Your cardio will improve a lot, and your times for whatever runs you do will decrease, obviously. So to begin with, I'll start with the easier parts is the physical aspect. And obviously my answer to that is repetition, right? You're gonna get tired, you're gonna feel like shit. That's just kind of how running is. It's not something you're ever going to grow out of. It's not like all of a sudden running feels like this magical, godlike thing. It just kind of, it's there. It sucks, but you feel a lot more athletic, and it's freeing in a sense because you're able to move in ways that you wouldn't be able to before, and for longer periods of time if you're doing a more distance style running. Or for sprinting, you're able to be more explosive and be faster with more training. So that would mainly cover the legs and the lungs, which honestly, depending on which style of running you do, because I've done a bit of both. For sprinting, you're gonna want to worry about the legs. Train your legs for explosiveness. Make sure you get off, if you're doing a track or something, make sure you're getting off the line quick, all that sort of great stuff. But for lungs, it's more about distance, right? Like how far can you go without feeling gassed out, there's a word for it, but essentially it's almost like a mode where you're not consciously running, but you're just kind of like there. Once you get into, like, if you run for a while, you might understand what I'm saying here, but if you haven't, basically if you continue running for a while, it could even be as short as 5 minutes, or it could be as long as 30 minutes, or it could never happen. It's completely random and dependent on the person. But essentially it's like the zone, which athletes call it, but I am more or less thinking about the fact that when you're running, sometimes what happened with me, it was very rare, but it was almost like your mind disconnects from your legs. It's really weird. Like your legs will start running without you telling them to run, and it becomes automatic, right? That is an amazing feeling for me anyways. And honestly, it's awesome because, like, I don't know what it is about it, but it just feels, gotta lock in. Okay. But something feels different about it. It's like you start running even though you're telling your body to run, and it just feels weird. But if that happens to you, it's okay. It's completely normal. It happens to people, just not as many people. But it's not like you have like some weird medical condition or something you need to get checked out. It's perfectly fine. So that would be one of the tips that I have for covering. Sorry, almost someone's cut me off. For legs and lungs. Now, the hardest part, which you could probably all have guessed, is your head, right? Because your body's going to be, or your mind rather, is going to be telling your body to quit constantly because it's not used to strenuous amounts of running for long periods of time, or even if it's a light jog for you, if you're a very beginner, if you're new. So what I would recommend for you is just think about the next step you're going to take, because that's what oftentimes worked for me. And I used to be like a pretty slow kid when I first started, but I gained my speed over time, over training, and it worked out great for me. It also teaches you a lot of lessons about consistency and how important that actually is over the quality of whatever you're doing, right? So for instance, if you're running, okay, and if you're running and you have someone with you, that obviously helps with consistency. But ultimately, it comes down to what you're able to do in your own head, right? If you're able to tell yourself just take one more step and actually do it, that will allow you to have a much better cardio and a lot better time being able to run and just live healthy, in a sense. I'm not the type to tell you how you should live, but if you're some like overweight, obese person and you want to get into running, you're not going to be able to run a 20-minute 5K on your first attempt. That's just not happening. But like, it's not impossible, you know? That's what you need to tell yourself when your mind's telling you it is impossible, because like a lot of times it physically isn't. So if you want to get better at running anyway, I would say those are the 3 like fundamental things you're going to want to do. And if you do them over time, eventually you will become a great runner just by default. But also one thing that does help a lot, right? Because I suffered from strenuous shin splints. I mean, I would run for 2 weeks and then immediately get shin splints after. So what I would do is I would ice, or, well, I did both, but I would say if you actually have shin splints, ice. If you have like tendonitis, which I had a little bit of both, use heat. That's what worked for me. So a little bit of ice and heat, lots of stretching, water. You get those down, you're good to go, right? Oh, let me cover, this is actually a really great transition. Nutrition is very important for running. Like, you can have shit nutrition and become Sam Sulek. Great bodybuilder. He wouldn't last a chance at running. He would get smoked because he, well, I mean, probably not anymore, but he used to eat like shit, and that caused him to oftentimes suffer, or that will cause you to suffer in running tremendously, and you'll be able to feel it too. If you could test this out by yourself. If you eat shit food / whatever you feel like on one day, and the other day you eat like 3 meals and they're relatively healthy, like even to a mediocre extent, then I would say that you'd be really well. Hold on, what is going on? Sorry guys, I'm in the middle of traffic here and people are being strange. But anyway, so nutrition, big factor. I would say if you're going on long distance runs, prioritize carbs, right? You need carbs for short distance runs too, but like if you're going for like 5K, 5 mile, 10 mile, marathon, half marathon, whatever, carbs, absolutely need them. You need them from good sources. Bread, spaghetti, right? Well, bread's okay. I wouldn't result the bread being first, but rice, stuff like that. Potatoes, those are a good one too. They'll give you carbs, and it's basically the main fuel source your body goes off of when doing any sort of exercise ever. So, and especially for running, like literally, I think, if I'm not mistaken, running loses the most amount of calories just by default because of how much energy it takes to actually do that. And especially for longer distances, you need a lot more of it. So getting in carbs is great. That's also why for like in some marathons, like around the top, now that's like a really far distance, but like if you're just trying to run, a few miles, you don't need to worry about this. But if you eventually want to run a marathon, a lot of people will, like, they'll have these little like stands in the middle of their marathons, and they'll be like little cups of like fucking just like lemonade or Pepsi or something, some quick shit. And what I mean by quick is that it's quick carbs that digest in your system like that, so they immediately get in your bloodstream and you can use them as a fuel source throughout your run. Because a lot of times, even the long-term carbs aren't enough, since there might be some, something happens. Maybe you just get tired, maybe you're dehydrated, and you just need a little bit more energy than you thought you did, because we're not fucking perfect. So, bang, take it down, and then go run whatever else they need to before, or maybe all the way to the end. It doesn't really matter. But either way, the point stands, nutrition is super important. Protein, obviously, you need that to build and regenerate muscle. and also it helps out with like literally everything in your body ever. So if you want to have like just good muscle health, just eat a good amount of protein. And then fats are good too, because if your carbs run out, you have fats as your secondary fuel, which it's okay for running. That's more of a better fuel source for weightlifting, but for running, it's mostly carbs. So I wouldn't say don't super worry about fats, but don't be like fucking super anti-fat either. It's like, it's fine. And I mean, besides that, trying to figure out what other tips I should give you for if you're trying to like start out running, right? Because I mean, you don't need to be fucking doing crazy shit from the beginning, and you shouldn't, right? What I'd recommend, right, if you want like a program, we'll say, it's not really much of a program, it's more of me thinking on the spot and just giving you something to do if you're that sort of person who needs like some guidance. I would say start out with just like running 1 mile, right? Just 1 mile. Don't make it overcomplicated. Just 1 mile, or walking a mile even if you can't run. Perfectly fine. It's the same thing with like a child developing into an adult, you know? When a child is learning how to walk, they don't just start fucking galloping. They take one step and fall like about 5 million times, and then the one time they actually take a step and they don't fall, now they're walking. It's the same exact principle. Just keep walking, right, on your mile, run as you can, and then soon you'll notice you're running a 1/4 mile, then a 1/2 mile, then 3/4, and now you're running a mile. Bang. A month later, you're running your first mile. And like with literally everything in life, it's exponential. So once you're able to run your first mile, you're probably going to be able to run 3 or 4 miles, just genuinely, because it's about developing that kind of rhythm is what I call it. Because for me anyways, when I was running, there would always be a point about like 1.5 to 2 miles in, and sometimes earlier, where you kind of get your breath into a conscious rhythm, which is very important, because then you don't panic and you don't like, you aren't like gasping for fucking air, because a lot of times you don't need to be, right? So very important, control your breath as you're running. It's one of the things that helped me improve my time a lot, because it helps you from mentally going like crazy essentially, and you're able to focus on being in the present moment and running and doing all the things I already mentioned, right? So in order for most people to take that second step or the next step, they need to be able to be consciously present. So control the breath. Anyway, so with that being said, I actually just forgot what I was talking about like 2 minutes ago. So I'm just gonna talk about controlling your breath for a little bit and see if it comes back. But there's a lot of things to running, so don't feel super overwhelmed if you don't get everything out of this video. That's okay. I don't plan on it. And honestly, most people only take 1 or 2 things away. Perfectly fine, right? Just like how most people look at school and they remember about 3 or 4 things, and that's it. Even though it's like for 18 years of your life you do it. It's not like I'm not surprised. So anyway, going back to running. Controlling the breath, how I would do it, right, is I would manually breathe. Like, you know, some people, they try to like annoy other people by telling them they're like blinking, and then they start manually blinking. It's the same principle of breathing, but except you're actually doing it for a reason. You're doing it so you don't fucking tweak out physically or mentally, and then you're able to actually, you know, run. So in your head, I would say consciously breathe in and breathe out, and you're gonna feel tired, right? So don't be afraid if it's like quick, like if it's like that's fine, but like you don't want to be like, because then you're just fucking panicking and your brain goes fucking haywire and then you can't do anything. So just as long as you're keeping under control, then I'd say you're good to go. But for some people, it's hard to do that, and that's okay. But just keep in mind that if you don't try to like at least somewhat control your breath consciously, it's going to be very difficult for you to run like any long distance at all. Like even if it's more than 2 miles, for instance. Is he pushing his motorcycle? Unfortunate day for that man. But anyway, I'm gonna wrap up the video there because I just kind of yapped in your ear about running for about 15-20 minutes. So if you did enjoy it, please like, subscribe, comment, do stuff like that, because then it pushes the video out to more people can see it, and if more people become runners, they become more healthy. Whoop-de-doo. Job done. So thank you again, and that'll be it for me. Bye-bye.